More proof the Merrell twins are not Asian/Filipino. I know I've said and made countless videos showing the Merrell twins are not Filipino, but I know a lot of you are still convinced they are, so for those who still think they're Filipino, here's a video from 2021 where again they exposed what their true ethnic background is, and how Filipino they are not.
Kansas City, Missouri. Where I grew up, it was a little small town called Lee Summit, and everyone knows each other. You run into someone at the supermarket. Not very diverse at all. My mom is a Mexican and Latin and Spanish, and my dad's like white. So I at least grew up with a little bit of diversity in my life. Mm-hmm. But even my mom says that, like, even when we moved out to California, we didn't realize how much of like our culture we didn't know. So wow, it's like a weird thing to say. Yeah. But yeah, I love California. I love the diversity. I love that I can go get Brazilian food or like, what's another place? Little Ethiopia. I could go to little Ethiopia. Filipino food. Like.
And she means like authentic food.
Authentic food that you can get.
She then goes on to explain her ethnic background, where you saw in the clip, she says her mom is Mexican, Latin, Spanish, and her dad is white. Here is the clip again.
My mom is a Mexican and Latin and Spanish, and my dad's like white. So my mom is a Mexican and Latin and Spanish, and my dad's like white.
Wait a minute, what happened to being Filipino? Why didn't she say her mom was also Filipino, since they were always so loud about being Filipino before? Why didn't she mention her mom being Filipino? Why only Spanish and Latin now? And why didn't her half-Filipino boyfriend say anything when before he would mention it? Here's a clip of that.
This is a Filipino pride. Aren't you part Filipino?
As you saw, he mentions her being Filipino there, but why did he stay silent here?
My mom is a Mexican and Latin and Spanish, and my dad's like white.
But then check out this next part from her half-Filipino boyfriend.
What's another place? Little Ethiopia. I could go to little Ethiopia. Filipino food. Like.
And she means like authentic food.
Like authentic food that you can get. Like little Ethiopia, Filipino food, like Ethiopia, Filipino food, like.
Right away when she talks about food, he mentions Filipino food. So don't say he just didn't think of it then, because right after when she talks about the diversity of food in California, he was quick to add in Filipino food. Wouldn't you think he would have mentioned her being Filipino also when she was telling her ethnic background? Just like he did in the other video? He would have done the same, but yet he didn't. You can say, she probably just forgot to say Filipino. She didn't say Portuguese either. That would be plausible if not just a second later she mentions Filipino, but only when talking about food. If she's going to mention Filipino food, don't you think that would jot her memory that, hey, I forgot my mom's also Filipino? But she didn't. Then insert her half-Filipino boyfriend as well. He stays silent when she's talking about her ethnic background, but just so happens to chime in mentioning Filipino only when talking about food. Wouldn't you think he would have corrected her and said, wait, you're part Filipino too, just like he did in the other video? But he didn't, just like how she didn't. That speaks effing volumes. So for those who keep insisting they are Filipino, part Filipino, for the delusional, half Filipino, straight from her own damn mouth, she didn't even mention being Filipino. And here's Nessa's interview clip mentioning their ethnicity.
Well, because my mom, she's Mexican and Spanish and mixed of a bunch of different things.
No mention of Filipino. Y'all can say, she said her mom's mixed a bunch of things. But her not mentioning here, coupled with what her sister Ronnie said, it says what it says, they're not Filipino. And again the half-Filipino boyfriend staying silent.
Well, because my mom, she's Mexican and Spanish and mixed of a bunch of different things. And that's just...
But he was happy to chime in here.
We've traveled to a bunch of different countries. And it's been really fun. But every time we've traveled, it's been for work. So like,
don't tell me you haven't traveled out of the country just for leisure.
Cabo,
Hawaii, but that,
well, I guess that's still.
As you can clearly see, he was able to chime in this part. Why couldn't he chime in when she was talking about her ethnicity also? So again, he was able to insert himself in every other conversion but not when it's about their race? Speaks volumes. And don't even try to deny it, it's literally what it is, they're not Filipino. Out of their own mouth. And then there's this video that just came out. This video is Aaron Burris, Veronica Merrell's now husband, where he cooks Filipino food for Veronica for 24 hours.
Today I will be feeding my wife Filipino food for 24 hours. And yes, I'm Filipino. Well, I'm half. No Filipino.
Why did he only mention that he was Filipino? Why not his new wife Veronica, the one who for the last 8 years claimed to be Filipino? Watch again.
And yes, I'm Filipino. Well, I'm half.
If the Merrell twins were really Filipino, he would have said, cooking Filipino food for my wife who is also Filipino, or, I'm Filipino, well half Filipino, and Ronnie is part Filipino also. Nope. No mention of Veronica Merrell being Filipino, or if you watch the entire video, which I encourage you all do, there is no mention at all of Veronica Merrell being Filipino. This video literally proves how Filipino Veronica Merrell is not. Literally. But watch it for yourself. They posted up the video themselves, and ended up exposing his own wife for not being Filipino. Just like all the other times they exposed themselves, not me, I just show it. Shake my effing head. If she was Filipino, she would have said something, but watch this next part.
Wife, how's your stomach handling the Filipino food so far, by the way?
It's good.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm impressed.
Really?
Most of my white friends have issues with it.
I'm half white.
Oh, well, come on.
He literally said, all my white friends, identifying her as one of his white friends. Listen carefully.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm impressed.
Really?
Most of my white friends have issues with it.
It says what it says. For those who don't understand, he's surprised she's taking Filipino food so well because all of his other white friends usually don't, meaning he's surprised she, a white person, is liking it. White? I thought she's Filipino? Why is he so surprised she's able to eat Filipino food? Maybe it's because he knows she's not Filipino, maybe? Take it how you want. And then there's this clip.
I'm half white.
Oh, well, come on.
Y'all might be like, what's wrong with that? Well, if she was so Filipino, why didn't she say, well I'm Filipino too, so of course I can handle Filipino food, but she only mentions herself being white. And why didn't her husband say, oh and you're Filipino too, that's probably how you're able to take it, but he just says, oh, after she mentions being half white, which they are not half white. When he mentions her along with his white friends, she could have said, hey I'm Filipino too, of course I can take Filipino food. But she doesn't. To defend herself and how she's able to take the food was that, she's not white, but only half white. Shake my effing head. If she was so Filipino, why didn't she just say it?
Most of my white friends have issues with it.
I'm half white.
Oh, well.
She's supposed to be Filipino too, isn't she? But yet it's not mentioned anywhere in this almost 12-minute video. That's literally all about Filipino. He only mentions himself being Filipino. But your wife for the last 8 years have been claiming to be Filipino herself, so why is he the only Filipino one now?
Yes, I'm Filipino. Well, I'm half.
This video literally proves how not Filipino the Merrell twins are. Go watch the entire video, it's on his channel. No person who claims to be a race would act that clueless about their own culture. The Merrell twins knew more about Korean food and culture than they do about the ethnicity, aka Filipino, that they claimed they were. And then for the husband to only mention and identify himself as the Filipino one, and then literally call out Veronica as white, the part he says about his white friends, and don't act ignorant about that part, because it couldn't be any more straightforward, speaks effing volumes.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm impressed.
Really?
Most of my white friends have issues with it. Most of my white friends have issues with it. Most of my white friends have issues with it. Most of my white friends have issues with it.
I'm half white.
Oh.
Ethnicity white. We're also half like Spanish.
We're more Spanish
than
anything.
Yeah, we're more Spanish.
I'm half white.
Oh.
And don't say I'm just assuming or making things up. If you all go read the comments on that video, people are saying the same thing. Asking stuff like, but isn't Ronnie Filipino too? I thought Ronnie was Filipino too? Go see for yourself. It shows that they all read it the same way. That he was the Filipino one and she was the white one. Again she said it, not me. So don't say I'm putting words in their mouth. Told ya. They were just as confused. Because if Ronnie was Filipino also, why was it mentioned nowhere in the video? The husband only mentions himself as the Filipino one, and she mentions herself as the half-white one, which take a look at this. Wait a second, Veronica said she's half-white, when her dad is white, and her mom is mixed, so she's mostly white, not half-white, right? Right, but as y'all saw, everyone saw that. Why was Ronnie not mentioned anywhere in this 12-minute Filipino-themed video as Filipino, if she was also Filipino? If she was Filipino, people wouldn't be so confused, would they? Shake my effing head. Some of you guys may ask and wonder, but why would they pretend to be Filipino? Because they claim to be Filipino before getting into K-pop. I don't know, but I saw this Timothy DeLaGhetto video, and it may shed light to this situation.
Dude, people thought I was Filipino for years.
I thought you was Filipino.
Yeah, I let them think I was Filipino because Filipinos go so hard for their peoples.
Imposter!
I don't know, maybe the Merrell Twins thought of doing the same thing? But make it with what you see. Then some of you all may argue, so you believe them when they say they're half Spanish and Irish and so on, but when they say they're Filipino you don't. You're picking and choosing what to believe. They said they're Spanish, you believe that, but when they say they're Filipino, you don't believe. Yes, because they haven't said or did anything to make people question if they're Spanish, but with Filipino they have, and you have all seen it. They didn't know if Filipinos were Asian or Pacific Islanders.
Are you part Asian? I think so.
No, okay, this is a discussion. If you're Filipino and you're watching this broadcast, do you consider yourself Asian? Because I thought it was Pacific Islander. Isn't it? I don't know.
After getting into K-pop said they weren't actually Filipino but only had ancestors who lived there, and then proceeded to claim they could rather be Korean, Chinese, or Japanese.
That we are, like, our ancestors do come from the Philippines, but that there was this time where a bunch of people went to the Philippines that were like Korean, Japanese, Chinese, one of those. So we could either be any type of those Asian.
Said they didn't know brown people were Asian. They were taught what Asians looked like, etc.
See, sorry, Waki Shaki said, I'm Asian but brown kind. See, there's so many different types of Asian, and like growing up, we didn't know that. Like,
we didn't associate Asian being that.
Because that's just how it was just taught where we were.
Yeah, where we taught, that's how it was like.
But they have never done that with Spanish. Never once. That's why with all their other ethnicities no one questions it, because they never said or did anything to make you question whether they're Spanish, Irish or German. But with Filipino, you all saw for yourself. That is why I don't believe them when they say they're Filipino or Asian. And all the proof is there. It's not about, but they said they were Filipino before they got into K-pop. They could have said they were Filipino since they were kids and I still wouldn't believe them, because look at all the stuff they are saying now. No Filipino, no Asian, would ever say none of the stuff that came out of their mouth about Asians. Never. Again, a lot of you are going to be ignorant and say, who cares, whatever, it doesn't matter, let it go. I don't have to because the Merrell Twins obviously didn't. They still, or at least Vanessa, is still appropriating and using my culture as an aesthetic. So she obviously still cares very much about Asian stuff, so I can still care that she's still obsessed with Asians, aka me and every other Asian who hates it. And then some of you all are going to say, it was literally 4 years ago, let it effing go. You obviously have a sad life that you're still doing this 6 years later. You're so obsessed with them. Okay, let's flip the story. It's sad that no, not 6 years, but 7 years after discovering K-pop Nessa, is still obsessed with Asians. It's 7 years, and she's still being racist and appropriating Asians. She's so obsessed with Asians. Does it make sense? And for the people who were going to say, this is old, they're not into K-pop anymore, and like you said, they're not even claiming to be Filipino anymore, so why are you still attacking them? Because time doesn't automatically erase anything, mostly when the people at fault, aka the Merrell Twins, have not even apologized or admitted to it. Oh, and maybe not into K-pop anymore, but Nessa still seems very much into Asian stuff. Go watch my Vanessa Merrell still appropriating Asian culture video. Here's a recent story of a white man pretending to be Asian to move up in the industry. As y'all can see, this white man quit his job at Marvel because he was angry that another white man pretended to be Asian to get somewhere in the industry. So when you all criticize me or any other person who is angry at the Merrell Twins for pretending to be Asian because of their K-pop obsession, their Asian fetish, don't, because even a white man, who isn't even Asian, was angry about the same exact thing. Also your excuse is that this is old news, they don't even like K-pop anymore. This man pretended to be Japanese in 2017, over 6 years ago, and this other man brought it up now, because it's important. He's still got to work at Marvel even though everyone knew, he even apologized for it back then, but this other man still thinks he should be held accountable. So again, if this white man got angry at this other white man for pretending to be Asian, it's not far-fetched or overreacting when an Asian person gets angry at white girls pretending to be Asian. Okay? So when y'all criticize me, saying this is old, they're not even into K-pop anymore, they don't even do Asian-related stuff anymore, it doesn't matter. They tried to trick everyone that they were Asian, and they didn't even own up to it nor apologized for it, and they're still appropriating Asians in our culture, so they're not over it. This white man is angry at something this other white man did 6 years ago and wants repercussions. I'm not trying to get them fired, but at least own up to it and apologize. The man at least apologized, they haven't even yet. So again, if this white man can get angry about another white man pretending to be Asian, so can an Asian person such as myself, can get mad at the Merrell Twins for pretending this whole time to be Asian, and still have not owned up to it nor apologized. And are still appropriating Asian culture. And if you all going to say they already apologized, they didn't. Go watch the Merrell Twins' fake and sincere apology, getting hate for liking K-pop. I explained clearly how what they did was not an apology. And here's more examples of what a true apology is, and you all can go compare it to what the Merrell Twins did, and you will clearly see whatever they did, was definitely not an apology. Take this and go watch their so-called apology video, getting hate for liking K-pop video, and see how many of the do's they actually did, versus the don'ts they really did instead. Y'all can go watch that apology video yourself. And you all will all see how sincere, it was shake my effing head. So once again, the Merrell Twins are not Filipino or Asian. They said what they are, which is full white. German, Irish, Spanish, Portuguese and Mexican. They said it, they were half white half Spanish, they're full white. They tried to pretend and trick everyone that they're so mixed when in fact they are not. Their mom is just as white as their dad. There you go. More proof of the Merrell Twins not being Asian/Filipino.